we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our weekly showcase. We are super excited to have Margaret here from the University of Wyoming to tell us all about their university and all the opportunities that they have available to our Nigerian audience. So thank you so much, Margaret, for being here today. And over to you to tell us all about Wyoming.
Thank you so much, Malate. Thanks to you and everyone at Education USA Nigeria. We're really thrilled to have this opportunity to talk about the University of Wyoming, our programs, and the importance of Nigerian students to the educational life here. So I'm going to do a broad overview of our university, of some of the opportunities, and then given current visa restrictions, some ideas you might want to consider if you'd like to study with us. And hopefully that will be helpful. I'll turn up my volume. Can everyone hear me okay? And hopefully that will be helpful to everyone um, as you choose kind of your path forward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, just some slides that we've prepared. And let me know if the sound is better. And then finally, I'll make sure I save time at the end for questions. The University of Wyoming, we're in the Mountain West, about 2 hours north of Denver. So that's the international airport you might fly into, and then transfer and fly into Laramie, which is a 10-minute drive to campus. And this image, these mountains are about 40 minutes away from campus. So we're really in the middle of a beautiful place. Um, full of lots of nature and lots of opportunity for research. We're very unique because among the 50 states, Wyoming is the only university, the only state with just one university, and that gives our students certain advantages. First, it means we get all of the federal research dollars and investment in our state. Second, it means the state heavily subsidizes the quality of education to make sure that their children get a great education. And then finally, the private sector, both companies and nonprofits, are constantly coming to us with questions, with ideas to recruit our students for the research and education that serves our state. And we have a lot in common with students in Nigeria and frankly, a number of resource-rich countries around Africa because our biggest economic sector is oil, gas, and mining. So we need to be able to use the natural resources that we have under the earth for the economic development of our people. But also our second largest economic sector is agriculture. So we need to make sure that we're protecting the water table, avoiding pollution from that heavy industry that affects our farmers and ranchers. And then finally, tourism is one of the largest employers in Wyoming. We have Yellowstone National Park, the Jim Bridger Wilderness, Vidavoo, lots of other very famous and beautiful natural locations. And people come from all over the world to enjoy our pristine wilderness, to see our moose, our bison, our bear, and our other big wildlife. And so, as you can imagine, here at the university, we're constantly trying to figure out how do we balance these competing economic priorities? How do we enable the oil, gas, and mining sector, the agriculture sector, and the sustainable tourism and natural resources sector all at the same time? And because we have this very big investment in this very small population, it means our class sizes are really small and the university is relatively small for the number of programs we offer. Most of the students here are from Wyoming, but of the little less than 5% of students that come from overseas, Nigerian students are among our top 5 student population. So students from Nepal, Bangladesh, Kuwait, Ghana, and Nigeria are very present at our university, especially at the graduate level. And we are nearly a quarter of our students are graduate students. So they are heavily involved. I would say Nigerian students, especially in petroleum engineering and geology, are playing very significant roles, getting PhDs and leading groundbreaking work that will influence the oil and gas sector for decades to come. We also have high prominent opportunities for undergraduate students to be involved in research. So you could be finishing your bachelor's degree, but if you've proved yourself, you could get a paid job in a lab doing research, which is something that both helps pay the bills, but also you can put on your CV and help you get that job after graduation. As I mentioned, a pretty small university, less than 11,000 students, but we have more than 200 programs in total, including 90 master's and doctoral degrees. A few that I just want to highlight at the end, the colleges will all make sense, but the three schools I want to highlight, because these are interdisciplinary schools that have professors that might have an appointment in one of the larger colleges, but that are doing really specific work, again, related to these economic challenges that are so important for Wyoming and so important in Nigeria. So the Hub School, again, is looking at natural resource management, ecology, and sustainable tourism, right? How do we protect these natural resources, but also make money and spur economic development because of them? The School of Energy Resources is looking at kind of next level carbon capture, better uses for coal, how do we reduce the carbon footprint of fossil fuels, and then how do we also identify new ways of getting those fossil fuels in ways that are more environmentally friendly and more effective. And then finally, the School of Computing. We all know that an entry-level computer science degree is no longer sufficient to get a job. You need those next level skills. So we have a master's degree in artificial intelligence, a master's degree in quantum computing, a master's degree in geospatial information science and technology. So again, these kind of next level skills that prepare you for the tech jobs of today. Because we know that there are visa restrictions on our Nigerian colleagues right now, I really wanted to share a bunch of our online courses. So these are ways where if you had intended to study in the United States, but it's not possible right now because you can't get a visa, you can go ahead and start your studies online and then potentially transfer if and when those visa restrictions are lifted or it becomes possible. So bachelor's degrees, I especially want to highlight our accounting bachelor's degree. We have a bachelor's and then also a one-year master's in accounting, where that gives you all the credits, skills, and training you need to get a CPA. A US CPA is used by international companies all over the world, and those are very, very stable, high-paying jobs. So I definitely just want to highlight the accounting degree, but you can see, just how many are there really good programs. And then at the master's and doctoral level, again, we have these excellent online courses, but I really especially want to highlight our College of Education. If you or someone is interested in moving up into more of a ministry job or a higher level administration job within your college, university, high school system, having these next level master's degrees, especially in educational leadership, higher education administration, or learning design and technology, i.e., how to do online courses. These are great degrees that you can do from home. And again, you're getting all the same curriculum, all the same professors, all of the same training from these online degrees, but you're saving a lot of money by not having to leave home. So you can keep the cost of living you already have, live where you already are, and avoid kind of the extra expense or having to find a new job once you get to the United States. We also have a bunch of credential or kind of certificate endorsement programs. So again, if you want to build out that CV with more professional expertise, this could be a really good time to invest. Many students, because of the visa restrictions, won't be going to the US right now for the next few years. And so, in 5 years, there'll be a smaller number of Nigerian graduates with those US credentials, and your CV can really stand out because you made the investment now when other people weren't. So a couple that I really want to highlight are the agribusiness leadership and health leadership, organizational leadership. Again, these are certificates that you can do in 4 months if you do it intensely, or you can spread it out over the course of a year or two if you want to kind of take one class at a time. But those are spectacular investments in the professional skills in your field. And then also just want to highlight some of the more IT, kind of the GIS, remote sensing, uncrewed aerial systems, and then anything involving energy or land surveying, where again, we know that these are skills that are in high demand in Nigeria, and that having the US credential can help differentiate yourself in the competition for jobs. And I will just mention this photo, our largest school club is a swing dancing club. So every Thursday night, all the students get together to dance for a couple hours. So when the visa restrictions are lifted, and if you want to come study with us, I hope you'll consider joining that club. I also want to highlight some overseas partners, and I'll kind of talk about costs after this. But if you don't want to study online, you know you want to be kind of a full-time student studying in person. That's how you learn better. You have the money to invest in being a full-time student overseas. And you know you'd like to study at the University of Wyoming, but can't get a visa right now. What are some things you could do? So we have a number of partnerships so that you could save funds in your first 2 years by studying someone else, and then easily transfer those credits to the University of Wyoming after the visa restrictions are lifted. So a couple I want to highlight. First, just the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. This is a spectacular community college, and they actually have some bachelor's degrees as well in Edmonton, Alberta, which is the center of Canada's oil industry. And they have really great training for the first 2 years, and then you can automatically transfer into our petroleum engineering program to finish off your degree. So that is a spectacular, well-trodden partnership where our students are consistently getting great jobs after graduation. Another advantage is if for some reason the visa restrictions weren't automatically lifted after 2 years, you're already in Canada where there's lots of opportunities to finish your degree, lots of high paying jobs. So it is a higher investment. It costs more money to go to NAIT, but that might be a decision that you've decided will pay off. Also, Jakarta International College in Indonesia. We have a 2-year program, an American degree transfer program, where you start with the first 2 years in Jakarta. Be a higher cost of living than where you currently are, being at home. Right? Like you know how to save money at home, so it's going to be more expensive in Indonesia, but not as expensive as Canada. And so at Jakarta International College, you can do those first 2 years, get your general education requirements at a lower cost of tuition, and then have that automatic guaranteed credit transfer to the University of Wyoming. And then finally, we have a new partnership just launching this fall with the Shanghai University of Sport, which is one of the best universities in China. And they're specifically focused on anything related to sports medicine, sports psychology, sports and business, sports and marketing and communications. So if you know that there's kind of any field related to sports and exercise and health, where you know you want to work in that field, that could be a really good program for you to consider. Right now, it's only available to Chinese students. We'll have the first cohort of 80 beginning their studies this fall, but that is a 4-year program, a 4-year joint degree program where you spend the whole time in Shanghai at a much, again, lower cost of living, lower cost of tuition, but you graduate with a degree both from the University of Wyoming and a degree from the Shanghai University of Sport. So if you're interested in that, please let me know, and we can let you know when it becomes open for international students to enroll. Because in general, international students go to SUS. Just this particular program is brand new and doesn't have that permission yet. And I'm happy to answer your questions about any of these overseas partners when you're done. So admissions requirements, just to know if you were going to transfer to Wyoming, what you would need to have for automatic admission. You would need a GPA of at least a 3.0 or equivalent, proof of English proficiency, though obviously that's not going to be a problem for you. And then we have rolling admissions. Because we're the only university in the state and taxpayers have paid a lot of money for their children to attend this university, we really try to make every accommodation so that you can, if you are a good student and you got good grades, that you can join us at the University of Wyoming. We do have merit-based scholarships. These scholarships are for if you were enrolling on campus as a freshman, as a first-year student. But as a transfer student, you could get up to $6,000 a year for that. Unfortunately, we don't currently have broad scholarships for online students, though there may be departmental scholarships available. So how much does it cost to attend the University of Wyoming? So for online only, you're looking at about, if you want to take all the classes and essentially be a full-time student, you're looking at about $11,000 a year to attend online as a full-time student. If that's not possible because you're also going to be working, you can pay by the credit hour instead. So then you're looking at more in the hundreds to several $1,000s, depending on how many classes you want to take. But again, when you're studying online, class by class, you can kind of pay as you go and take classes as you go, based both on your time commitment and then on your budget. Just to have a sense of what the Canadian and Indonesian options might cost. In Canada, you're looking about $30,000 a year for every US dollars for everything. That includes your housing, your food, tuition, everything. In Indonesia, you're looking more at $10,000 a year. So you can see that, but that doesn't include all of the cost. It's like $8,000 for tuition and then additional cost for housing, travel, visa, your life in Indonesia. So I would say probably the online studies are the most affordable that we would offer. But again, if you want that in-person, more intense full-time student experience, then the Canadian or Indonesian options could still be really good for you. But again, with Canada, it's more expensive, but you probably have more job options no matter what. And in Indonesia, it's going to be less expensive, but maybe a little more competition, a little bit harder to get a job from that degree. We do tend to do really, really well on rankings of the quality of the education, especially for the price. So we're very proud of that. And you can see our campus, we're up in a high desert in between two mountain ranges. So we do have a winter, but we always have sun. So I think always having the sun makes a really big difference. And again, my hope in making this presentation is that you'll plan to join us, even if you're online. Maybe you'll come transfer, maybe you'll just come visit, or if you start at another university, you'll consider transferring to us when that's possible. I focus mostly on undergraduate studies, but I really want to share some of our graduate degrees, especially in STEM fields, where most of these degree programs have fully funded graduate assistantships. So we pay our students, basically $15,000 to $20,000 a year to come study with us, and your tuition, your health insurance are all covered. So this may not be what you want right now. You might be finishing your bachelor's degree, but if you start investigating degree programs for graduate school in the United States, please think about these really, really elite programs. It's hard, it's very competitive to get a graduate assistantship, but I'm happy to share more if there's interest. And yeah, graduate study, you're getting a very, very valuable degree, but again, most students, we actually pay them at the graduate level to study with us. As a result of that pay, you do need to work up to 20 hours a week, either helping with research, helping with teaching, working as an admin assistant. But again, those can very frequently be jobs that help prepare you for your career that you can put on your CV. We have beautiful residence halls, and off-campus housing is relatively affordable for the United States. It's a small town, so it's not as expensive as New York or Miami, and our students save a lot of money that way. So to apply, you can apply using our online form. At the undergraduate level, it costs $40 to apply. At the graduate level, it costs $50 to apply. We don't have fee waivers unless you have a government scholarship. So if your government is paying for your education, we're able to waive the application fee as a courtesy to your government. But otherwise, those are the costs. And once again, this image is just 40 minutes from our campus, so it really is a beautiful place to work and study. That concludes the formal part of my program. I really want to share my phone number and my email. I'll put my WhatsApp in the chat because I know that, again, given the visa restrictions, you might be figuring out a lot of different choices. So we also have a partnership with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, a couple doors over in Ghana. So if you have thought about studying in Ghana, that might be another option to study and then transfer to the University of Wyoming. But I'd really just like to keep in touch with you to support you in your journey. We know the quality of the students that come to us from Nigeria. We don't want to lose that really proud academic and research tradition. And we know that our university, and especially the jobs, the training in petroleum engineering and geology, are really essential for Nigeria's economic future and really set you up for a successful, stable career. So with that, Moate, I'll turn it back to you, and I'm excited to answer your questions.
First and foremost, I just want to say a big thank you for a very so much information packed in 20 minutes. I wish that you could have just gone on. And thank you again for really tailoring your presentations to the current realities that our Nigerian students are facing. So I really want to appreciate you for doing that for us and for our audience today. So please, everyone, the floor is open. Type your questions. I also have some questions of my own, maybe as people are thinking about what questions they have. But yeah, I was just taking like screenshot, like, oh my gosh, I need to remember this. You towards the end of your presentation, you just mentioned Kwame Nkrumah University over at Ghana. Is it one of your like overseas partner schools? Do you have that 2 years there and then transfer sort of situation or agreement set up as well, or is it a different arrangement with them?
It's a different arrangement in that it's a newer partnership. So we have
Okay.
an MOU, but we don't yet have the kind of formal
Okay.
student mobility accreditation agreement.
Okay.
But again, given I think there's 39 countries around the world who are
Mhm.
affected by these restrictions, and
Yeah.
just given how important our petroleum engineering and material science and mining and geology programs are, we want to facilitate those transfers because we know the skill set that we have and that students want. So we'll work on facilitating that.
Okay. This is just I don't know, a random question, or maybe it might make sense. Is it possible for students to switch between the partner schools? So let's say, for example, you start out in Indonesia and then you're like, not really a good fit for me. I want to try out the partner school in Canada, for example. Is that an option? Is that a possibility?
It may be, but
Okay.
they don't have a, to the best of my knowledge, they don't have an accreditation agreement.
Okay.
So I think that's the one challenge. I will also share, so at NATE, the head of their international enrollment office
Mhm.
is of Nigerian descent. And so I think
Oh,
having a friend who knows Nigeria really well, is really well informed about Nigeria and Canadian immigration is also really helpful. So I'll just share his contact information, which I know he's fine with. But so BC can be a really great advocate for Nigerian students.
all right, perfect. Thank you so much for that. So just generally speaking, like what would you say are some of the most popular programs with your international like undergraduate audience, or typically?
So yeah, so I would say there's a lot of students in engineering. So petroleum engineering, but also electrical, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, um, um, architectural engineering. I'd say our engineering programs are very popular, and then anything with computer science, AI, computer engineering, and quantum computing. I would say those are kind of the two most popular areas. But we also have a lot of students from West Africa in the humanities. So
Mm.
students that know they want to do an English master's degree. We have a public humanities PhD. Um, uh, we have students in communications and journalism doing graduate degrees. So those are also very popular.
You mentioned, the importance that University of Wyoming places on things like research, that sort of thing. Are there opportunities for students who would be who are going to be starting out online or participating fully online to still engage in like some of those research opportunities or other like hands-on opportunities that are available?
There absolutely is, but you may need to be a little more proactive about seeking it out.
Okay.
Just so that professors know you want to do it. More and more of our research platforms have an online component, either the databases we're using, the research tools or apps that we're using. So many of the professors are doing monitoring work online or analysis work online anyway. And so you're physically not being in Wyoming actually isn't a barrier to participating the way it might have been in the past. Again, it depends on the area. If you're working with a microbiology professor studying alpine lakes and the microorganisms within them, you're not going to be able to go out and sample it, but you can
Mhm.
help with analysis afterwards. So those are maybe just some things, but you would need to reach out to professors to kind of make sure they know you're interested.
I mean, you already mentioned about like how Nigerian students are strong and you have, a good experience working with Nigerian students at University of Wyoming. Do you have any advice? I mean, the people on this call are prospective students. So what advice would you give to like students hoping to make their applications more competitive, whether it's for the online programs or even for, for assistantships and other opportunities in the future at University of Wyoming?
Yeah, the best advice I have on this actually came from a Nigerian PhD student in petroleum engineering who actually just produced a new paper that's being celebrated across the region about understanding new shale structures for oil and gas. Anyway, so from Ifeanyi, his recommendation is, especially at the graduate level, if you know which professors you want to work with, always read their last 5 research papers.
Mm.
Just because that will give you a better, you'll be conversant in their work. They'll be impressed by how much you already know, and they'll also be a little bit flattered that you took the time and were a really serious student and wanted to do it. At the undergraduate level, we're, again, because of that public service mission, we're much less competitive. So the main thing is just having really good grades. And I would also always recommend an undergraduate student always apply for our honors college. If you
Mm.
don't like it later, you can quit. You don't have to graduate with honors. But our honors program, our honors college has a lot of money. And so they will invest in your research, in your study abroad, in kind of whatever projects you want to take on, experiences for you, networking, career prep. And so if you're at the undergraduate, so at the graduate level, read the research of the professors you want to work with before you reach out to work with them. And then at the undergraduate level, join the honors college.
So can you talk a little bit more about like the honors college? Is there a separate application? Are you automatically considered based on like, having a high GPA in your application, for example, and beyond like networking, first pick at classes, research opportunities? Could you just maybe explain to our new audience like what is an honors college and what are the benefits if you're a top student to apply or considered applying to an honors college at any institution?
Absolutely. So, honors colleges or honors programs are very common across US colleges and universities, but each one tends to do it slightly differently. So, I would say always just plan on going honors because why wouldn't you want to be honors? But right. But what's specific about the university honors college is it is a separate college within the university that has its own professors, its own courses, its own study abroad programs, and so it is both a um, extra classes you will take, an extra project you will do to graduate with honors. So it's a distinction on your diploma. But it is also, because they're their own college with their own money, it is also a way in which they're going to invest in you. So having high grades is important. But actually, at our university, we care more about interdisciplinary work. So we care more about are you an interesting, motivated person? Are you going to be someone who changes the world, not just someone who gets good grades? And so what we care about is your grades and then an essay. And that essay is what's used to decide if you get into the honors college. And then I will just mention an example of some of the interdisciplinary courses that they teach, which I think are really fascinating. They recently did a jointly taught class about kind of psychology or neuroscience and justice about, and so we know that, for example, witness testimony is frequently used in courts, but what happens to the brain during trauma and how might that affect the result of a court case, or jury trials? Just what are the things we're learning about neuroscience and the biology of our brains that might affect the outcomes in a criminal justice setting? So those are the kinds of like really fascinating, really cool stuff that you get to do in the honors college. Oh no, I can't hear you.
I was muted for a second. I was just thinking back about my own undergraduate experience, and sometimes I'm like, there were so many resources and available on campus that I wish I knew about, and I felt like would have made a big difference in terms of like my overall experience in college. So my question to you would be like, what opportunities at Wyoming do you think international students often overlook?
Yeah, so I think more and more international students are taking advantage of kind of counseling resources, tutoring resources, like any. I think any time that you have always been the top student, like you just have always been the top student, and now you're in a completely different environment. That's just a really hard thing, and I think, when you are already studying in English, it's easier, but especially for our international colleagues who are studying in English solely for the first time, uh, US slang, US metaphors, someone's using American football to teach a biology class. Like that's really hard. And it doesn't mean you're not the same smart person you always were. It's just a really hard adjustment. So I think using the tutoring and the counseling options are really important to help support you through that. But they could be used even more. All of our International Student Association and individual student groups are super helpful for just that initial support. I think those are highly used. I think one of the things that we have that's unique, and you could still take advantage of as an online student remotely, that is probably underutilized, is we have an oral presentation center. So depending on your secondary school or undergrad experience, you might not have done a lot of group work. You might not have made a lot of presentations to the class about, hey, here's this thing that we did, this project that we did. Instead, your professor was talking the whole time and you were never talking. And so just to have practice with an expert to give you feedback on your
Mhm.
public speaking, how you've organized the information, your PowerPoint, before you go to class for a grade, you can present it to someone who will give you feedback and help you improve. And so I think that oral presentation center is probably one of the more unique and great things that we have at the University of Wyoming.
Yeah, that's so great. Like that's yeah, I love how intentional you are with your undergrad experience and realizing that not everybody is coming from the same background and the US classroom is very different. I know for us, we try to do a lot of preparation about like this is what the US classroom is going to be like. And if you're not used to public speaking, if you're not used to raising your hand and talking, these are things that you'd have to get used to, but not just preparing them that these are things that you have to get used to, but actually having like systems in place to help guide them and, prepare them and give them feedback and critique is really helpful.
These are skills.
Yeah.
So getting training and practice with these skills is really important for your success at university, but also when I meet with our alums, whenever I travel, I always hang out with our alums. They frequently talk about, hey, the math and the physics, that's the same anywhere you go,
Mhm.
right? Like they were always going to be great at that. What got them their job at an international firm that's getting them paid extremely well to travel all over the world for architectural engineering projects, for big kind of port trade commercial projects, is the fact that they can work in groups across culture and language and get things done with other people and present really professionally in a global way. And those are the skills that they're learning at UW.
So, I mean, if you leave me, I can go on and on asking you questions, but just
I
for the
gotta get
interest,
to I gotta get to you're in Lagos or Abuja?
I'm in Abuja.
Perfect. Okay, I gotta get there.
You too. I'm super. We'll be so happy to host you. So this is sadly my last question, but I think it's a question that is going to be relevant for everyone who is listening. For any student listening, Nigerian student watching today who is interested in applying to University of Wyoming, what three steps do you think they should take next? Beyond just sharing maybe a slide of your contact information again, but what
Yeah,
what what are the next three steps or two, three steps you think they should take?
yeah. So I think the first one is have a really um, thoughtful, loving, direct conversation with either your parents or your spouse or your family about who might be financially supporting you, about trying to figure out what your budget is. I
Hmm.
think sometimes we don't have those direct conversations about what we can really afford because it's personal and it can be sensitive or embarrassing or inappropriate to ask your grandparents. Um, but I do think that when it comes to making a plan that's sustainable, and so no one's going to be suffering or not have enough money for all 4 years, um, and also so that you're really prepared for your visa interview because you know where the funds are coming from. I do think having that just frank, loving conversation about what's possible and what isn't is really helpful. That takes you to step two, which is okay. Now that I know what we have, what we can do with my support system to fund my education, what are the scholarships? What are the NGO opportunities? What are the financial aid programs? And again, being really clear because some universities have complete full rides and some just don't. At the graduate level, we do, but at the undergraduate level, we don't. And so you don't want to waste the time and money if it's not really going to make sense until the graduate level. So I think that's the second thing is figuring out really, okay, this is what I have. How can I get more resources or only applying to the things where you could go. Um, and then the last thing is try to have fun with it. There's so much pressure on smart young people. to like, you're not successful if you can't do this, or you failed if you do that. Try to have fun. You know your worth. You know how much work you've put into this. So just try to have faith that things are going to work out. There's going to be really hard times, but if you put in the work, it's going to pay off in the long run. And enjoy that. Enjoy your talent. And we just hope you apply to us, but we hope you apply wherever you'll be happiest and be most successful. So thanks again, Malate, for having me, and just so excited to see more applicants. Maybe in 2 years or 3 years, but when we can welcome you here.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for such a fantastic, fantastic presentation. Honestly, I learned a lot, and I'm sure that our audience did as well. And for me, my next three steps for people who are really interested beyond the fantastic nuggets of wisdom that Margaret has shared would be check out the University of Wyoming on their website, because I know we've given a lot of information today. So you might want to take some time to go and do your own research to digest what the school offers. Follow them on social media. That would give you a feel about the culture at the institution, check out some student ambassador stories, and maybe you can see if you could also picture yourself there as well. And then maybe my last thing would be, I don't know if you have like additional info sessions that maybe your admissions team offers, like maybe if you want like more in-depth in-depth conversations, you can then maybe, because I know 30 minutes is a really short time. So maybe you might want to consider signing up again for another info session at their institution. So thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to being in touch with everyone later. Thanks again.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye, Margaret. Bye, everyone.